Welcome to the Art of Money podcast with Art McPherson.
And thanks for checking out the Art of Money podcast. My name is Mark Owens alongside Art McPherson and Luke McCarty. All the information for the McPherson Financial Group, you can find it at theartofmoneyradio.com. You know, as we put that bow on August and the seasons start to change, well, our seasons of life change as well. So when we hit these milestone birthdays in our life, what do we need to know? Like as we go into fall, or maybe we hit the age of 50, 55, 60, where should we be with our portfolio?
Well, one of the things, if you want to just kind of know where you're at, because a lot of people don't have a financial advisor and they don't know if they need one or not. But if you're kind of 55, if you want to do a rough estimate, if you're making $50,000 a year right now, you probably should have about 10 times that in your 401k. So you should have about $500,000 at age 55 in your 401k, because you've got to get to a point where you can replace that income in retirement. So if you want to think about it in terms of if you're making $100,000 a year, at 55, you should have about $1 million in your 401k. So if you just use that kind of as a basic premise to kind of rough estimate, that would be a good place to start. If you're behind schedule right now, Mark, one thing people can do is use the catch-up provision. So right now, by law, every year we've had our amounts you can contribute to a 401k go up each year. So this year in 22, we can now do $20,500. But if you're still behind kind of these rough numbers I was giving you, you can actually do an extra $6,500. Of course, that has to be affordable. You can't give money you don't have, obviously.
Yeah.
But if you're making 150 or 200 and you don't have $2 million in your 401k right now, and you're making $200,000 a year, well, you can start doing some of the catch-up provisions to get caught back up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then as you get closer to 60, or say you are 60, you should be pretty close to where you're going to be, right? Because you've had 40 years of a working career. You know, let's say you started working at 20, right? Round numbers, right? Say you've worked and saved for 40 years. You don't have 40 more working years left. You may have 2 if you're retiring at 62, or 10 if you're retiring at 70. So by age 60, you know, you really need to take advantage of those catch-up provisions, and hopefully you're closer to where you want to be. And that way you can kind of map out, hey, do I need to work to 65 to get to Medicare, right? Do I work till 67 to get to a full retirement age on Social Security? So by the time you're 60, I think you need to be closer to where you need to be.
Mm-hmm. 772-281-5223. You can always get more information at artofmoneyradio.com. Gentlemen, there was a new report from Bank of America that showed that investors are hoarding cash at the highest level since right after the September 11 attacks. Now, it sounds like people are uneasy about the future. So in your opinion, is cash still the best hedge against a stock market that could be very volatile for the next couple of months?
Well, cash is kind of like your, what do I do now play, right? So when you don't see the bond markets doing well, you don't see the stock markets doing well. That's what people do when they're nervous. So the Fed is not helping. You know, since last week, basically what the Fed has done is they kind of had a discussion and said, we're not going to really change our rate guidance. So the market is kind of worried right now the Fed's going to stay the course, even though the economy has started showing signs of slowing down. That means that they can continue to hurt bond yields, because as the Fed raises rates, it hurts old money quite a bit on the par values, and bond money is supposed to be some of your safest money out there. So Luke and I had hoped that the Fed would start a little bit of change in their guidance, but they didn't. They stayed on their current guidance track, and the markets have struggled ever since that conversation. So the Fed can have a big impact on what happens with the markets, and right now they're having a big impact.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I've said this, I think last week, or at least the clients, that I think, the Fed has a longer leash of where they can raise rates to, because it has not impacted the job market. And that's what Powell said last week in their little boondoggle in Jackson Hole, right? He came out on last Friday and was essentially saying that, what they need to do to fight inflation is going to hurt more families. It's going to hurt more jobs now, but that's going to be better than in the long run. If they don't do that, it's going to hurt even more people. So now the Fed's almost saying, we're going to raise rates. We're going to continue going because we know it's going to hurt people. It hasn't really hurt many people yet, but it's going to. Mm-hmm. And that's new from the Fed. Now, we've said, all along, we think the Fed has been wrong more often than they've been right. So we'll see if a change happens. But, cash as a hedge, it's a good hedge, but a lot of times it's hard for you to make the decision of when to buy. So I think cash was a good hedge for the first half of the year. Right now, you can get a money market at 2.5%, right? That's better than cash. You can get a guaranteed rate, of 2-3 years at 4%. That's better than cash. So cash is good to have on the sidelines sometimes, but not for too long.
772-281-5223. That's how you reach out to the team and schedule that complimentary consultation. Art McPherson, Luke McCarty, did you see that $1.3 billion lottery ticket has still yet to be claimed?
I did. Yeah. I would imagine that if you're winning that kind of money, you're probably seeking professional help.
That's right.
So
now,
I hope they're probably doing that. Or somebody won, they don't know it, and it got thrown away with other paperwork.
Could you imagine?
No. And if you were the winner and you had this ticket and it's worth $1.3 billion, where are you keeping it before you turn it in? I would be so nervous.
Oh, no kidding.
Safety deposit box.
Something. I mean, I'd be afraid to even put it in a safety deposit box because, banks are,
It's 1.3 billion reasons for somebody to be nefarious.
That's right. Well, now, Illinois, where the ticket was purchased, they do have, you can remain anonymous. I didn't know, there are some states where if you win a lottery, you have to put your picture out there. You have to go public with it.
Yeah, that's not very fair because especially when you start making that kind of money, even after the tax man cometh and takes half of it, you're still talking about so much money that you become the top 1% of society. So you're talking about enormous amounts of wealth there. And with a little bit of financial planning, a little bit of financial help with it, not only have you set yourself up for the rest of your life, your whole family, your whole
generational
line,
wealth.
Your generational wealth there. So you've basically become multi-millionaires for your whole family throughout your family line. So
let me ask you this, Art McPherson. When it comes to that kind of life-changing generational money, that is the importance of having, when you build a plan, a legacy plan, an estate plan, because we all have things. We all have a house. We have property. We have, our things that we want to pass down to the family. But, of course, millions and millions of dollars is a little bit different. But there is an importance to having that legacy plan in place.
Well, yes, but I think a lot of people, Mark, don't think they need one. So like if they were to win the lotto like that, they think, okay, I need an estate plan. But in reality, you probably need an estate plan if you have just a 401k and you've done what you're supposed to do for your kids, because 90 to 95% of the money that Luke and I see walk in the office that is in qualified retirement is in money that is taxable. So every dollar that comes out of those retirement programs are taxed. Well, it's fine for you and your wife, because when you die and you give it to your wife, she gets it tax-free. It goes into her IRA, her 401k, non-taxable event. But when it goes to your kids or your grandkids, the tax has to be paid. We used to be able to stretch that tax over their life expectancy, but now the kids and the grandkids only can stretch it for 10 years. Typically, if you look at the $87 trillion right now that's changing hands from the baby boomer generation to their kids and grandkids, it used to be that could be stretched over a 30 to 40 to 50 year period of time. Now it's just 10 years. So you've got $87 trillion changing hands right now. All of that is going to be taxable, and an estate plan can help minimize those taxation or those taxes on that benefit.
That estate plan, that legacy plan, that's all part of putting together that plan from the team of the McPherson Financial Group. No cost, no obligation to you. That initial consultation, going to sit down with Art McPherson, Luke McCarty, one of the great team members. Let's start talking about what are your dreams, your wants, your desires as you approach retirement. Again, let's customize that plan. 772-281-5223. I'm glad that you mentioned couples, Art McPherson, because there was a recent University of Illinois study that found that older couples subconsciously sync up heart rates when they're close together. Now, they may not be in sync when it comes to putting their retirement plan together. So how do you help iron things out when it comes to husbands and wives and putting plans together?
Yeah, this is an interesting question. Everybody's a little bit different, and they're always different than, say myself, or different than Art, or different than, a client before or after them. And so there'll be some times where they're either both together in the meeting, or maybe just one of them's not, and you have to ask questions like, hey, are you guys, how linked up are you guys with your finances? Do you have a joint bank account? Do you have separate bank accounts? How are you guys managing your household? And the answers we get are very interesting. We run financial plans for all of our clients, but some of our clients married 30, 40 years, they want separate financial plans, which is okay. It's not wrong. It's just different. So if you are doing, whatever you're doing in your world, if it's worked for 30 or 40 years, keep doing it, right?
Right.
We'll be here to adjust if we need to.
Yeah, one of the things I see a lot, Mark, is if you're a couple, make sure you are maximizing some of your big deductions. So if you're a W-2 employee, you cannot deduct anything. Everything that you do is taxable income. So one of your last tax breaks on your return that you can still take advantage of today is your 401k, because those contributions are deductible. Well, this year in 2022, you can now do $20,500 a year into your 401k. And you also have that extra $6,500 for catch up. So this is the first year we've been able to do up to $27,000, and that's a legal deduction. So if you've got a 401k and your wife has a 401k, you both can deduct up to $27,000 this year. That's the highest it's ever been for 401k contributions.
772-281-5223. Reach out to the team at the McPherson Financial Group. Let's begin that conversation. Let's get on the same page. Let's build that retirement plan at no cost, no obligation to you, always online at artofmoneyradio.com. Art McPherson, I'm glad you brought up 401ks. You mentioned earlier in the show that something we need to be doing is, contributing as much as we can to our 401k plan. But, you remind us to keep up with our accounts because they're a great thing. But the Go Banking Rates website points out that it's the high fees that are usually hidden in the fine print that are a big negative in retirement planning. So when it comes to 401k fees, how do you help point them out to us?
Well, 401k fees, you may be stuck a little bit there because it's your company that has put that plan in motion. You might not be able to do a lot with it. However, there are, on every statement you get, usually your quarterly statements, it will show the fees. So one of the things that you can do is you can pick mutual funds or ETFs that are offered in your plan that have lower fees. So there are some things you can do as an employee to help lower cost. You're always going to pay a fee to have somebody help you manage your money. You cannot get away from fees. However, you don't want to overpay. So typical mutual fund in the industry, if you want to think averages, is around 1.25% per year in fees. So if you're paying 2 or you're paying 2.5, you're overpaying for fees. So Luke is a fiduciary in our office. I'm a fiduciary in our office. We use a fiduciary model, so we always disclose fees with our clients. And what we do is we show them what their blended rate is, their blended fee for investing with our firm. And a lot of times we can do our blended fee lower than what they had been paying in the past. But if you're in a 401k, actively participating, want to get some help and advice on that, we usually can do that. There are things we can do called in the 401k, sometimes called brokerage link, things like that. So we can help advise on those dollars while they're still on their 401k, and a lot of times do it for the same expense that they're currently paying.
Yeah, so most of our clients who had a 401k before were either, the same they were paying or were cheaper, right? Because you need to make that decision. If does it make sense to pay more money to have things done differently, or can you have it done better, more efficient, with more options for the same or less in cost? I will say the TSP is one of those plans where it is extremely cheap. And on your TSP statements, they even print out this little, I don't even know, it's little like almost like a bookmark, and it tells you all your funds and your fees. But you only have 5 or 6 funds to choose from, right? All those life cycle 2030, 2035, 2040 is a blend of the C fund, the I fund, the L fund, the S fund. So it's cheap, but you really have 5 or 6 options. So that's not enough, in my opinion, right? You can do so many different things, diversify so much, and this is the best year to look at it with stocks and bonds both down for the year. Those are more often than not what your options are in the 401k. Stocks, bonds, cash.
And, Luke, it's something Art mentioned a couple of seconds ago. He said, you're a fiduciary. Art McPherson, he's a fiduciary. If we're new to building and customizing and we're getting serious about our retirement portfolio, we hear that word a lot. Can you define that for me?
Sure. Basically, we do what's in our client's best interest. So we are blending models for them. We're doing risk assessments for them. We're doing asset allocations for them. What we are allowed to do in an IRA space is a little bit different than the 401k space, because a 401k has to be tested each year to make sure it's in compliance. So there's a lot of restrictions on 401k assets. But once a person retires, or once they have hit kind of that retirement traditional age of 59 and a half, a lot of the companies will allow their employees, even while they're still working, to help reposition money outside of the plan to be safer. So there's a lot of things we can do to help people out during the saving and accumulation phase, as well as getting ready for that income phase. Income phase is a completely different animal. You're no longer working, no longer contributing, you're now withdrawing. We want to make sure the sequence of those withdrawals work no matter what is happening with the market.
Thanks for listening. Want more from Art McPherson of McPherson Financial Group? Find us online at artofmoneyradio.com. We are an independent financial services firm helping individuals create retirement strategies using a variety of financial and insurance products to custom suit their needs and objectives. Securities offered through World Equity Group, Inc., member FINRA and SIPC, a registered investment advisor. Investment advisory services offered through ProStatus Group, LLC. McPherson Financial Group and ProStatus Group, LLC are separate entities and are not owned or controlled by World Equity Group, Inc. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Investment financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. Art McPherson is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Please consult with your attorney, accountant, and or tax advisor for advice concerning your particular circumstances. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Arthur McPherson. Florida Insurance License number A174. 725.
Today's show has been a work of art.